name is Tony Senohartono. I'm an IT professional and have been working with the top industry leader for the past 30 years. In the past decade, I observed that the world becoming more interconnected and borderless. The physical and digital world is converged. One of the most important technology behind this convergence is the cloud computing. Cloud computing delivers computing services like servers, storage, database, networking, software, analytics, intelligence, all over the internet. People and organizations are very attracted to the cloud computing because it offers faster innovation, flexible resources, and economic of scale. Cloud computing achieves this consolidation, the computing resources, only in selected data centers around the world. So it doesn't necessary that every country has data center. Through the cloud computing, the physical location of the data and processing becoming irrelevant. And this creates some issues related to the data sovereignty. Before we discuss more, let's start with the definition of the data sovereignty. Data sovereignty is the concept that the digital information is subject to the laws of the country in which it is located. Many of the current concerns that surround the data sovereignty related to enforcing privacy regulation and preventing data is stored in foreign country for being subpoenaed by the host country government. Data sovereignty can be a complex legal issues that can affect organizations worldwide. It may be easier if I explain this using simple scenario. For example, there is one Indonesian organization, the company A, that is using American cloud service provider P, that has a representative office in Indonesia, but their main offices are in the United States of America. Data is stored and processed in several data centers around the world. Maybe can locate it in a country like Indonesia itself, Singapore, Hong Kong, and United States. The Indonesian company has business with the American company B. One day, the American government suspect a terrorism activity is involving one person X that happened to work in company B and doing business with Y in company A. The American government can ask the cloud service provider P to provide some personal data of X and Y using the USA Patriot Act. This stands for Uniting and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism Act of 2001. The cloud service provider P will give the requested data to the American government. However, some of the required data is stored in Indonesia data center. But it doesn't matter since the Indonesia data center also managed by the cloud provider P. If the DC or data center is owned by local Indonesian company, it also doesn't matter since American government can use MLA or multilateral agreement to request access to the data through Indonesia law enforcer. So at the end, no matter the data is located, the government can always get it. And if it is involving terrorism or criminal activities, it can be done silently without the customer's knowledge. In order to provide national security against crime or cybercrime, the government needs to access all relevant data. And government want to be able to access any private data regardless of its location. For example, within the jurisdiction, the government can request data from the controller or the owner. And outside the jurisdiction, the government can also request access through mutual legal assistance or MLA treaties. MLA provides assistance in the investigation or prosecution of criminal offense MLA also used to obtain that cannot be obtained on a law enforcement basis. MLA treaties means that the data stored in any jurisdiction is not immune from access by governmental authorities in different jurisdictions. In the cloud era, government all over the world require a cloud service provider to disclose customer data in certain situations. And in most instances, the provider also enables the government to access data physically stored outside the country's borders, provided there is some jurisdictional hook. Now, from the cloud customer perspective, of course, the data must be protected from illegal access. When the customer runs its own on-premise data centers, control over security is straightforward. Security will be the internal team responsibility. However, in the cloud environment, the security will be a shared responsibility between the customer and the provider. The shared responsibility model means that the cloud provider are responsible for the security of the cloud, and the customers are responsible for security, the data they put in the cloud. Depending on the type of the deployment, IaaS, PaaS, or SaaS. IaaS is infrastructure as a service, PaaS is a platform as a service, and SaaS is a software as a service. So depending on the type of deployment, the customer responsibilities will be different. IaaS and PaaS are the cloud services that cannot be used directly by the customers. They are the infrastructure service and must be customized or programmed in order to be used. IaaS allows the customers to move their physical servers to the cloud, while the PaaS allows the customers to enjoy the true power of cloud computing by removing all the servers and their programming and replace them all by the cloud service. SaaS allows the customers to use the service directly without even programming it. Some of the SaaS examples are Gojek, Tokopedia, Facebook, etc. We just need to register ourselves, and that's it, we can use it. IaaS put more responsibilities to the customer. The customer is only responsible from the operating system to the administration. PaaS put shift responsibility on the providers. The customer is only responsible with the data to the administration, while SaaS put all responsibilities on the cloud provider, including the data and applications. This means the cloud provider will have full access to the data and application, and they can do whatever they want to do with the data and application. Most people confuse with the term of data sovereignty, data residency, data privacy, and data security. Actually, data sovereignty is a combination of these three components. Data sovereignty mandates that certain types of data must be stored in certain location, which is data residency. But data sovereignty also mandates that the data must be protected under the privacy and security law or regulation in the country where it is physically stored and processed. In terms of data residency, the customers have the flexibility to control which data should be in the country or outside, using the data classification combined with the hybrid cloud. In terms of data privacy, the customers can do anonymization and masking, and can also rely on third-party audit such as ISO 27018, which is protection of personally identifiable information, and GDPR, which is General Data Protection Regulation. In terms of data security, the customer can rely on encryption, multi-factor authentication, digital rights management, key vaults, and also third-party audits such as ISO 27001, which is Information Security Management, and ISO 27017, which is Cloud Security. And there is also contractual obligation in the form of service term and agreement with the cloud service provider, which typically covers the privacy and security aspect of the data, such as the provider will obey the law and protect the data privacy of the customers. Now let's see the data classification in more detail, because this is very important and can easily be done by the customer. The data classification refers to the process of organizing the data by relevant categories, so it can align cost with security and also ensure data controls. The implementation of the data classification can be different from one country to another, but on average, only about 5% of the data are classified and need a custom and hardened on-premise systems that is not efficient but required to fulfill the data sovereignty regulation. These custom and hardened on-premise systems usually very costly, disconnected, and usually very difficult to be accessed. The other 95% of the remaining data have lower privacy and security level, and therefore the storage and processing can be fulfilled by a combination between private and hybrid cloud, or simply public cloud. Currently, Indonesia still doesn't have a private data protection law. We only have the draft, which was signed by the President on January 24 on 2020. The draft covers the data sovereignty, which defines the definition of personal data, the type of personal data, deletion of personal data, and the sanction if there is any violation. Those who unlawfully disclose or use personal data that are not their possession will be subject to 7 years prison sentence or a maximum fine of 70 billion rupiah, or it is equal to about 4 million euro. And the next, data classification usually are created based on the risk. So data divided into several tiers. The bottom tier will have the lowest risk, and if the data is compromised, then the damage will be very limited or no damage at all to the national interest, organization, or individual. The top tier will have the highest risk. If the data is compromised, then it can cause grave damage to the national interest. The government of Indonesia, based on the government regulation number 71 year 2019 about operation and electronic systems and transaction, states that there is at least 9 sectors that have strategic data that has to be protected. However, the detailed provisioning will be subject to the ministerial regulation, which is still in development. The 9 sectors are the government administration sector, energy and minerals resources sector, transportation, financial, health, information and communication technology, food sector, defense sector, and other sector will be established by the President. So there are a total of 9 sectors. So in summary, let's try to answer the very question, data sovereignty, does it matter where the data is stored? So it doesn't really matter where the data is stored. The government or certain agencies can access the data regardless of the location. If the data is within the jurisdiction, then the access is easier because it is nearer. If the data is outside the jurisdiction, the government can use MLA or multilateral agreement. However, the best practice is to do the data classification. The strategic data is put inside the organization. The high-risk data is put inside the country border, could be in private or on-premise infrastructure, and the low-risk data can be put anywhere in the public cloud. And do you remember about the shared responsibility model in the cloud? So if you don't want your data to be seen by the cloud provider, do not use the SaaS, software as a service. You could use IaaS or PaaS, but activate the encryption. So I think that's conclude my presentation.